You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
It's not you.
Oh, Josh Schaefer.
How does that even relate to what we're going to be talking about? I guess, like, long-term with Warner, but no, not really.
Jumanji.
No. Anyway, today we're going to be discussing, through various parts in our 3-part podcast that we now do, HBO Max. Well, not really HBO, but HBO Max. And this is started with our nerd news to begin with, by the fact that Game of Thrones is getting a prequel no one wants.
I think there's one person that wants it.
Okay, so I went through, I don't normally comment in the AV Club comments or other websites because, oh my god, comment sections are just absolute trolls.
Yes.
It's the worst of the worst. But I went in there because someone, one of their writers posted something about the prequel trilogy, or prequel series, House of the Dragon. And it's like, oh, it's very pretty, but does anyone really care? And most of the comments in there were like, no one cares. This is awful. Why are they doing this? And one guy had to come and defend it. Now, normally, an article like this would pull everyone out of the woodwork. That's like, you were just crapping on this. We must defend this show. When only one dude shows up for it.
From the internet.
Yeah, from the internet, where you can just do whatever you want. Yeah, they're all ornery bastards.
Yeah, no one agrees on AV Club.
No!
Not even the writers.
Everyone that posts in the AV Club complains about what's been written.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just all that happens there. And the one guy shows up. If they were crapping on a Hawkman thing, at least 3 dudes would show up. So that's two
I
less.
would be one of them. Actually, no, I'd probably be crapping on it too.
That's 2 less people that showed up here than showed up for Game of Thrones. Yeah. So there's no fan base anymore for it.
And I think I've said this before, but I can't remember a different or another fandom that completely executed itself.
It's hard to create a series and carry it through start to finish without having a drop-off.
Yeah, no, drop-offs are fine.
Endings are hard. No one's going to argue with that. The closest I have, though, to a fan base that crapped the bed that hard, or a show that crapped the bed for the fan base that hard, is How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Which is close, but there are still people that will enjoy, the first few seasons are good, I'll go back and watch it. No one goes back to watch Game of Thrones.
No.
Because it's building to something that doesn't happen.
Yeah, in my head I was thinking Battlestar Galactica, the new one. But I was like, I didn't mind the end to Battlestar Galactica.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it.
I still feel like there was enough good intermediate episodes.
Yeah.
Because while that show was an overarching story, there were individual points that were just single episodes that you could just watch.
Yeah.
I have problems with some...
Get your fat ass off my shit.
I have some problems with some shows that are just truly serialized, and when they build to something, it's all ass. Picard.
Yes.
Star Trek Picard is start to finish bad. Because it has a couple good episodes to kick off a season, and then it just degenerates into nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
into it,
no.
Personally.
Start to finish is bad.
I love Star Trek.
But when you watch Game of Thrones... the show is not individual episodes. It's structured, especially in the later seasons, in such a way that there is no one storyline per episode you can follow, because it's all building across 8 to 10 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and all those seasons build across one long story, so that there's no individual story. You can't pick out an episode and go, I'm going to watch season 5, episode 8, and watch Arya go kill a bunch of people, start to finish, as she has a character arc. There's no character arcs.
Need to know the motivation.
Yeah, there's no character arcs in there. She'll get one scene where she gets close to killing a dude, and then the next episode she'll get another scene where she studies him from afar and picks out a poison, and then we'll get another scene in the next. There's no arcs that per episode.
And Witcher kind of feels the same way too. A lot of those types of shows,
which makes it hard to get into it. You watch a serialized show like Black Sails, each episode individually at least has something going on for its own story. But Game of Thrones was built in such a way that if the ending died, the whole show died, because everything was building to everything else, and there was no single point.
Yeah, and there was so much with Game of Thrones too, where the first, I would say 4 or 5 seasons had threads that were all being woven into a big tapestry, and there were little hints here and there about what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden they just ran out of thread and were just
Yeah, I discussed this in my podcast. Not podcast. I discussed this on the website a couple weeks back with writing an article about how to fix Game of Thrones, which is a fun, creative writing exercise. But no one's gonna care because the show died.
Yeah.
But like, what you have to do is not only do you need to kind of fix season 6 and season 7 a bit? You got to take out that magical fast travel they have, where just spontaneously armies can go all the way across a continent, which they couldn't do. Like, how long did it take Arya to travel from one end of Westeros to the other? It took her like 3 seasons with the Hound, and then spontaneously all the armies of the Dothraki and the Nameless, whatever they were called, they can just go from one end to the other in an episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you walked that, right? Really? Really? Well, like, a little girl and her protector couldn't do that in 3 seasons, and she's got boundless energy. How did you do that in a day?
With an army.
And
through 2 dragons.
Yeah! Like, no. The dragons, maybe. The rest of them, no. No. So you gotta get rid of the fast travel. You gotta tighten up the story. But the big thing that you have to do is fix season 8.
Yes.
And that requires you to completely change what the focus was. The focus of season 8 was who wins the Iron Throne.
Yes.
They didn't care enough about the White Walkers to actually give them a proper ending. They just
Which
kind
was
of
stupid. It was
blew
just
it
like,
away.
we're going to build up to this whole point. Oh,
yeah, and then just like, you guys were built as the villains, and now you're not. But they cared more about the Iron Throne and Cersei and all of her stuff.
Yes.
When really, Cersei should have been the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Take her out, free up Westeros, then go fight the White Walkers after you've already blasted half of your army apart trying to take out this other threat from behind. Then have the White Walkers be the point of the season. At that point, you're sitting there going, Iron Throne's dead. Half the nations are dead. The North wants out. The Iron Isles wants out. I think we lost the 7 Kingdoms. I think it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I thought a more logical step would have been, because Cersei's whole thing is she just wants absolute power.
Uh-huh.
And I think it would have made more sense for her to see the whites and whatnot and be like, I'll be one of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's possible too.
Like,
yeah.
Just because that would be within her character. She's lost everything.
Yeah.
So who has the most power? The Night King. The Night King is...
She becomes a White Walker and then goes and visits the graves of her kids to resurrect them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I can see that.
And I think that would have been a much better ending, because it would have rallied the rest of Westeros against them if that were to happen.
What we got didn't work. And that leads to a problem of, so we're getting a 200-year prequel.
Yes.
Which raises its own problems. One, we know the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be invested in the characters up to a point, but we know where this is headed. So whoever takes over the Iron Throne is going to be a crazy motherfucker who brings the end of the 7 Kingdoms in time.
It's the Star Wars prequel syndrome, where it's like
sure, it's 200 years in the past, so we're not getting the same characters, but why do we care?
Yeah.
Plus, you've already failed to tell us a good story once.
Yeah, the IP's dead.
Yeah. If you tell the story the same, if you don't give us episodic tales and you try and do the same thing, I don't think people are going to make it through a season. No.
I feel like this is totally either we need to retain the rights of the Game of Thrones franchise, or there was some sort of contractual agreement where it's cheaper for them just to make it.
I think it's just as simple as they have an IP that was successful and they haven't been able to let go of it yet.
Yeah, it's too late. Like how long ago was season 8? Like 4 years ago?
4 years, I think.
4 or 5?
It was just before COVID.
Yeah, it's done.
A lot has happened since then.
A lot has happened since then.
And you don't hear people going, well, I was stuck indoors with COVID, so I decided to go watch all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. No one said that.
No, their viewership numbers on Game of Thrones tanked.
Yeah.
There's still, I browse Reddit a lot. One of the most popular communities on Reddit is Free Folk, which is just exists lamenting how awful Game of Thrones is. Well, it used to be a fan community, but now it's just, they're like, I try to watch, and I remember a few people posting, I try to watch Game of Thrones since, I'm sitting at home and I couldn't even make it through the first season because it just made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Well, it's that thing of, okay, so you look back at some of the shows that HBO has done in the past. People will go on, and I don't see the point, but they will, about Sex in the City. And it got its own continuation that's doing well enough. I guess it's going to third season or something. Who fucking cares? I don't watch it. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not an old white lady, so it's not my show.
No.
But
there's The Wire.
The fan base is rabid. The Wire was another one. People, like The Wire was what, 20 years ago at this point?
And people still watch it.
People still go back and watch it again and still talk about it, and there's still discussion about what that show did. Like, we're 4 years out, and I think we're the only two people still talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Unless it's people just like, hey, remember that weird cultural phenomenon where almost for a decade there was this television show with fantasy people in it and Sean Bean died again?
You mean How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, if Sean Bean had died in How I Met Your Mother, that would have been chef kiss. Okay?
Sean
Bean is revealed to be the mother, and then he dies. That at least I would accept it at that point.
Yeah. Oh, that show.
I know, but
I love.
So this gets to the idea that Warner's gets IP. I mean, they have that multiversus they're putting out, which is all their IP mashed together for no good reason. Yes. But Warner's gets IP and then just doesn't really know what to do with it. They just kind of like throw it against the wall and hope something sticks.
Well, like their DCU?
Yeah, so their DCEU, which the most successful part of, which is kind of sad in a way, is the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And that's done well enough now that they want to do a David Ayer cut of the Suicide Squad, which, I mean, in fairness to David Ayer, he got kind of screwed on the development of that movie. Like,
I'm hoping that this is just them saying, yo, we know we messed up.
Yep.
So trust us in the future.
Yeah, because, I mean, that movie was taken away from them after its first cut because they decided it was too dark after Batman v Superman, and they wanted to do something lighter and more MCU, and instead they came up with Hot Topic villains, which is...
not good.
No.
And Second Suicide Squad, though.
Second Suicide Squad is good because they just kind of let him do his thing.
Which is promising for the future of the DCU.
Yeah.
Or DCEU, but I'm still holding my breath because, Black Adam comes out pretty soon.
Yeah.
And as you know, my all-time favorite superhero is Hawkman.
Yes. So I think what I'm thinking is the fact that with David Ayer, he did get screwed. He did create this movie and had a specific vision for it, and then Warner was like, "That's not the vision we want anymore." So they took it away from him and they re-edited it twice.
Yep.
And what came out was diluted and bad in comparison, which does have its own comparison to Zack Snyder's Justice League because Joss Whedon came in and completely re-edited it and refilmed stuff and did his own thing.
So bad.
It was very bad. Especially, I don't know if you've watched the Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I've seen about 3/4 of it, I think.
It's actually watchable.
It's watchable.
It is. Like, the crazy thing is, I don't like Zack Snyder, but I gotta be like, you kind of had a vision here.
I can respect the vision.
I can respect what you did. Like, I bought it on Blu-ray afterwards just to own it because I can respect what he did.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's there, and it's at least a cohesive vision, which the first Justice League was not.
No.
So...
And actually, I did not mind Ben Affleck as Batman.
No, I liked him.
Recut.
I thought it was fine.
Like, I thought he was okay in the first one, but...
He was better.
I think he might be my favorite I haven't watched the new Batman yet, but... No. I really liked Ben Affleck as Batman.
So I can get the idea behind a David Ayer cut. At the same time, as much as David Ayer can get some respect, he did do End of Watch. Mm-hmm. He also did Bright.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, same guy. So I'm sitting there going, what is your vision? Really, what were we look like?
I mean... I don't know. I think it's kind of too late for a Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think this is entirely just HBO wanting something they can advertise on HBO Max.
Yeah.
While they're trying to figure out what direction the new Discovery WB merger takes.
Well, and also, I think that there's some pressure to get more subscribers as well, because with Netflix imploding on themselves, I think HBO is the next logical step, right?
Yeah, well, it's Disney Plus and it's HBO, and it's interesting that those are the two that we have because those are also the two that own superheroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Hulu...
Hulu's Disney.
It's Disney
Hulu could be absorbed by Disney at any moment, and then Disney would be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed stuff going from Hulu to Disney Plus very slowly, so...
Yeah, they're slowly pulling in the stuff that is age appropriate for their Disney Plus subscribers. Yeah.
And sometimes, with like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones.
Yep.
That's not even necessarily true anymore.
When Hitmonkey makes the move, you know that Hulu is dead.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, I gotta say, unrelated, but Hitmonkey is very watchable.
Yeah, I liked Hitmonkey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just, I don't think it was marketed appropriately.
No. But, so, Warner's it's in an interesting place with HBO.
Yes.
And I mean, some of that's fueled also by the CW basically getting potentially sold off.
Yes.
So, some stuff that's definitely... I mean, one reason why they canceled Legend of Tomorrow, which makes me sad, and canceling Batwoman, which doesn't make me sad, is because they're tied up in a Netflix deal, and Netflix owns the streaming rights basically in perpetuity. They don't own the Superman streaming rights. They don't own some of the other shows that have come out since then.
Yeah.
So if the CW gets sold off, expect that shows like The Flash is going to go away at that point because it's tied up.
Yeah.
But the Arrowverse will live on because of Superman and whatever else they decide to make post that.
Yes.
Which Superman and Lois is really watchable.
Oh, is it? I've watched it.
You should watch it. It's so good.
All right.
So, but there's I feel like Warner's is in this weird place, and you can feel it just with them just throwing things against the wall, like David Ayer cut, like putting the Iron Giant in everything when it doesn't make any fucking sense for him. Like, why is he in Multiversus? He's a peaceful robot. Why is he fighting people and kicking them off a ledge? I don't get that.
I don't know. I think Warner Brothers sees the money making opportunity, but they want to be competitive against Disney. I think they originally were trying to be competitive with Netflix, but Netflix decided to
be Netflix.
Netflix.
There was an unsustainable business model there.
Yeah. But just, you know, it's not a smart business decision to say, why are we losing subscribers? It's because they're sharing accounts, so we'll tax that or put more stuff and raise our prices and cancel shows.
Yeah.
Like, I don't watch Netflix shows anymore because every time I do, like, I'm like Glow. Loved Glow. It was one of my favorite shows. Ends on a cliffhanger, never to be seen again. It's Fox syndrome. Same reason I don't watch new shows on Fox.
Yeah, there's a new vampire/vampire hunter show coming out on Netflix. Some tween-friendly girls fall in love with each other, but different side of the tracks. But one's a vampire, the other's a vampire hunter. It looks CW quality, but I'll end up watching it because there's vampires in it because that's just how I am. Yeah. I have to. But in the AV Club comments for it, everyone was immediately going, "I give this a season before it's canceled."
Yeah,
and it's not even as a joke. It's just we all know. Like, it's Netflix. If it doesn't do immediate gangbusters, it's gonna hit the floor. Yeah. Which, I mean, to the credit of HBO and HBO Warners and all that, they don't necessarily do that. HBO fosters shows.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, Made to Love was good for a little while, and then, like, people stopped talking about it, but it still got a second season. A lot of shows that HBO does will just get a second season because they like to string it out and have the fans come back and continue to be loyal.
Except for Watchmen.
Well, that was by design, though.
Yeah, Lovecraft County too.
Yeah, that one hurt people. Yeah. They were thinking about doing it and then they just couldn't. Yeah. So, but no, I think there's a better bit of support. And like, if it wasn't tied up in the Netflix deal, you can tell that Warner's wouldn't have canceled Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman. They would have just moved it to HBO and been done with it.
Yeah.
But there's that thing of if companies can't control their IP, they'd rather kill it than have someone else own it. Like, Marvel killing off all the X-Men and Fantastic Four comics for a little while until they got the shows back because they weren't going to do anything and support someone else making money off their stuff.
Yeah, which business-wise makes sense.
But it hurts
the bottom line because now you have like the Fantastic Four showing up and people are going to be like, who?
Yeah. Well, and then you have the fact of now fans have a little less trust that the shows that they're going to get invested in, that you want them to be invested in, are going to last.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
And Warner Brothers, I think they should be looking at developing new IPs too, instead of recycling the old ones, because the DCU isn't working. And
parts of it do work. Like, I like parts of it. They're not successful parts, but I like parts of it. And I think there's a thread that's emerging that actually does work, and it's basically anything tied to Harley Quinn.
Yes.
So, like, Birds of Prey, which was not financially successful, is still, like, liked by fans.
Yeah.
And then she showed up in the Suicide Squad, and that wasn't financially huge, but I don't think Warner's expected it to be.
No.
You got the vibe from them that they're like, we're releasing this during COVID because we need to recoup some money, but it'll get us subscribers, and that's all we need. Yeah. We just need the subscribers. And then they did Peacemaker, which
is awesome.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, we should talk about that during our watch party here.
Yeah.
But that's just a really weird, bizarre show built around a character you wouldn't expect to get a TV show. But that was for them to say, hey, James Gunn, we like working with you. We want you to continue your vision with the DCEU. Just come here and make this, and we'll just put it on our show.
And I think that's one of the big things too, is that Warner Brothers had to learn the hard way instead of just looking at what Disney was or Marvel was doing.
They did it wrong.
They did it wrong.
Yeah.
And they kept trying to force something in. And I think one good thing about COVID is, and just like the politicized nature of everything surrounding COVID and the president, et cetera, I think they finally realized our stuff's too dark.
Yeah. Too dark. But there's a part of me that likes the fact that they're not Marvel.
Yes.
There needs to be counter-programming to Marvel. Now, Marner's hasn't necessarily learned that lesson. If you go and watch The Batman, I think that's a dour, unfun movie. And I said this in my review. We can talk about when you finally see it. Batman can be dark. Batman can be serious. Batman can stand for something. Superheroes can do this in general. But when there is a point at which your superhero has become so grim dark that they're no longer fun. And if you're going to dress someone up in a cape and a cowl, you need a little bit of fun in there.
Yeah.
Just a little. Because otherwise, why put them in a cape and a cowl? They could wear any uniform and basically do what Batman does as a vigilante.
Yeah.
But you're making them a superhero. Give us a little something.
Yeah. And DC ran into that same issue when they did comic books in like the 90s and early aughts. Like, Batman wasn't fun anymore. It was just, okay, he's going to brood for 6 episodes or issues.
Oh my
and
God,
then
he did that so much.
Oh, nope, 7 issues, and then he's going to be mad. And
of that period, the comic I enjoyed the most from Batman, and just because it's so absolutely ass-crazy terrible, All-Star Batman and Robin.
Oh my God.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
But it's readable. It's so readable in a you're sitting there going, this
Who knew Frank Miller had vision?
I know, it's so wretched. It's like the Ayer cut, not the non-Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, but like cranked well past 11.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like Batman always had someone to balance it in some way.
Yeah.
You had Barbara Gordon, or Robin, or Nightwing.
Or Robin again.
Alfred.
Or Robin again.
or Girl Robin. Catwoman. Even.
Songbird, or Robin again.
And even Superman to some extent. But
yeah, no, and that's I think what's missing from the Batman is it's so grim dark because there's no one to balance out. Even the Alfred that's in there isn't very quippy.
No,
so
he's just a
British
guy.
He's a British guy. And that's a problem with a lot of the early DCEU films of the same type was it was very dark. The Batman feels like it learned lessons from Joker, which was the wrong movie to build your lessons off of. Maybe it's fine as a one-off. Don't build an entire multiverse around it.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about why, because I like the Michael Keaton Batman. But you had Bruce Wayne being eccentric playboy, who added that fun element into it.
You there's no scene in the Batman like in Batman 1989 where Bruce Wayne invites Vicky Vale over and they have dinner at opposite ends of the 800-foot long table. That's just such a dumb scene, but it helps sets a lighter tone once in a while.
Yeah, because it's just Batman's a hard character to write.
Yes, I agree. But James Gunn has it in him to write both dark, gory violence and still make it fun.
Yeah.
And I think, there are rumors swirling that James Gunn is going to become the Kevin Feige, whatever, however his name's pronounced, of the DCEU.
I think that's a good move.
The guy with the vision. Because he's doing this, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's doing the holiday special.
And that's it.
Yeah, and then it sounds like he's done
with Marvel.
Yeah, he got hired back so he could finish his vision, which he was happy to do. And then, but because they fired him once already, you get the feeling like he's ready to just wipe his hands of it and walk away.
I think Taika Waititi, and we kind of talked about this on the last podcast, but
he's going to be the next James Gunn for them.
I think he's gonna, which is good because
Yeah.
I love him.
He's got a tone that fits better. James
Yes.
Gunn really wants to be Slither levels of gore and violence.
Yes.
He wants to make a weird, dumb, gory horror movie, like Sam Raimi does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he can broaden out and do other stuff, but his natural instinct is to go back to making you both laugh and be cringed out at the same time.
Yeah, and DC is the perfect market for
They
that.
will they want to be the anti-Marvel. They still want fun superhero movies,
Yes.
but they want to counter program because they can't program at this point.
Yes.
So, yeah. So
And-
Peacemaker is the perfect example of how you build that multiverse out and still have it be fun.
Yeah, they want something I think that reaches more older millennials, Gen X people.
A little R-rated.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest flaw of the Suicide Squad was that it wasn't just straight up put out on HBO Max to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they learned their lesson with that.
They did. That's because they didn't make a Peacemaker movie. They made a Peacemaker show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, again, it was great seeing John Cena in his element.
So yeah, let's go over Peacemaker because I think that's the last step of this. This will be our little watch party before we wrap up. And so Peacemaker is about basically the same James Gunn story that we've seen a couple times already, because we saw aliens come to Earth and start taking over people, which we saw with Starro, which we saw with Slither.
Yes.
James Gunn likes a very specific story. And if there's any critique I have from James Gunn, it would be, I've now seen this 3 times. Please tell me something other.
Or do
Please.
Ocean People next time.
Please give me something a little different. But he has done stories outside of that because he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy. But he does have a specific trope he likes to play in.
Guardians of the... No, I don't know. I feel like that was still kind of in there a little bit. Like the whole Mantis character, for example. I don't know. I feel... Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, so... Peacemaker, being the vigilante of this, who doesn't view himself as a villain, even though DCEU views him as a villain, will kill anyone he has to restore peace. Although, as we see, won't kill kids if he doesn't have to.
Yes.
The kids have to be attacking him for him to kill them first. So,
And
but
he thinks about it.
Yeah, he does have a line, which I didn't think he did. But he is willing to protect peace at any cost. Gets teamed up with the remnants of Task Force X to go hunt a new threat, which he doesn't understand what the threat is at the start, but is revealed to be, quote-unquote, the Butterflies, which are aliens from another planet who have come to Earth, and some of them they can crawl inside a human's head and take over them, but it kills them in the process, and basically they animate the bodies. And they become those people. And so they're trying to do some sort of invasion on the planet, and Peacemaker and his team have to go and kill them. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
It's doled out slowly over 40-minute episodes, but that's the whole of it. And most of the time it's just him being hyper-violent, rocking out to hair metal, and shooting people. And it is glorious.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's not really a superhero show, but it's just fantastic enough that it still ties in.
Yes.
So yeah, I think I'm with you on this. John Cena is the star of that.
Yeah.
To a T.
Yeah. It was like he was made for this. There's just a role that I think every B and A-list actor has eventually where it's like, this was your role.
This was your role.
And that was...
I didn't know I needed you to play Peacemaker, but I actually need you to sit around rocking out, and then in your emotional moments, go and play a little Guns N' Roses on a piano, which... He was actually playing that.
What? Was he really?
If you look, there's wide shots where he's actually doing the finger movements for it. Yeah. If that was not him truly playing it, then they did such a good job of him faking it that it looked realistic.
That's probably harder to do than
I know, right? That's why I just assumed he was playing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they did a lot of wide shots where it was him at that piano playing.
Oh, wild. I need to go back and watch
Well,
that.
I mean, wrestlers have a lot of skills that they don't get to,
the number John Cena's always been, when he pops up and stuff, I'm never like, ugh, John Cena.
The number of wrestlers you hear about that go off and also have doctorates or something else, and you're sitting going, you?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, then. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren with his 3 different PhDs. Okay, I get it. You're both bigger and smarter than I am. Please stop.
Quit being so pretty.
But no, I mean, this was a role for John Cena, and I can see why after seeing him in the Suicide Squad, they're like, we need to give you a show.
Yes.
You're too good for us not to tie you down. And whether it was James Gunn's idea specifically or Warner Brothers going, let's lock this guy down and let's keep him here. They did a smart move and
Yep.
keep in extending his contract out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Like some of the Task Force X people I could live with or without, they didn't get the development. This was Peacemaker's show. Yeah.
Well, and I think, and I'm hoping anyway, that this is an example of what future DCEU stuff will be like, where you have a movie and you can explore subplots or even popular characters, but
I mean, we're never going to get Margot Robbie in a HBO Max DCEU show. Well, she's going to be movies.
I know I'm in the minority in this one,
Yeah.
but everything about Harley Quinn is super cringy to me.
I actually like the character. I like...
It's the fans that freak me out.
I don't talk to the fans. Don't listen to the fans. I like the character for what she is. I think Margot Robbie plays a very specific version. Now, that said, I don't think she's the best version we have around right now. I think the Harley Quinn cartoon...
Is that the Poison Ivy one?
That's the one with her and Poison Ivy together,
yeah.
voiced by the chick from Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Yeah, Kaylee Cuoco. Is that how it's pronounced? Yeah,
Which I was surprised I liked, actually.
Oh my god, that show is so good because it has that same like level of hyper-violence and gore, but also hilarity.
Yeah.
And they found not only the perfect voice for Harley Quinn, but the perfect story voice for her too.
Yeah, they found the niche. And
they found her character.
Yes.
Like I could honestly live without Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn showing up ever again.
Yes.
If we had the cartoon going on in perpetuity. Because, like, it's just so good. And they're making, for HBO Max, a Kite Man show as well.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
Kite Man.
See, and that's the stuff that I want them to do. And DC has always, for the most part anyway, with some exceptions, killed it in the animated space.
They're really good animated. They're actually not bad with live action. I know you don't like the Arrowverse, but it threw you off, especially with that first season of Legends. Which
Stupid Hawkman.
I know.
And Hawkgirl.
They did bring him back.
Who cares? I want my Hawkman to be like Channing Tatum. Tall, mysterious, beefy.
So I'm guessing you're going to watch the Black Adam movie then?
Oh, duh.
Because Hawkman will be in it?
Yeah, and he looks like a good Hawkman.
So.
He's not 5'2".
Yeah.
Which no insult to short people, but
He was both too short and too bad at acting to be that Hawkman. Yeah.
Like,
it was bad.
it was bad.
It was bad. The girl they got for Hawkgirl wasn't bad.
She was just a bad actress.
She was better at it than Hawkman was, but there's a reason they weren't invited back.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
which is sad because like their costumes looks pretty dope.
The Arrowverse does a good job of actually updating things to look okay on live action.
Yeah.
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 For everyone except for Killer Frost. Oh, Killer Frost is bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna try and get you to watch like the Deathstorm arc they did. That was pathetic.
No.
Oh my god,
I do want to watch. Was it Metal Men, or the one with Brendan Fraser? What's that called? Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol,
Not
which is
Metal
also
Men.
HBO Max. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes of Doom Patrol and I enjoyed it.
It's fucking weird as shit.
Is
Stargirl's
fun.
not bad.
I also love Stargirl though. This one.
It's one of the better Arrowverse shows. The second season was definitely much improved. And
Oh, was it?
yeah,
I lost interest in first season.
and that's another one that's going to be both on CW and then on HBO Max, so you can just watch it then. Yeah, I mean they brought a bunch of interesting stuff in from that, like the Shade and Old Green Lantern and all kinds of other stuff. Well, I mean Jade for Old Green Lantern, but I mean they brought in a lot of stuff. It's an interesting show. That's the thing is like. I like the DC properties that are on HBO Max, including Peacemaker, because we were supposed to be watch partying that. But there is, like, while I appreciate Marvel's focus, it feels like they're struggling to figure out where Phase 4 is supposed to go. Meanwhile, Warner's is so good at all their diverse products that I'll watch all of it, but I get irritated when ever they try and tie any of it together.
Yeah. And I think I'm okay with not having a universe that ties everything together.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think I like Warner's has some good stuff. I mean, I think they still do have a few more misses than hits than I would like.
Yes.
But they have some good stuff. If they could just figure out whether or not it's like it has to be a multiverse, like a focused multiverse, just figure out some direction for some of it.
Yeah. And
just enough.
I think one thing that the MCU's done brilliantly too is we've already seen, like, for example, Peter Parker's origin story 500 million times. So,
They didn't give it to us again.
They didn't give it to us again. We don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Batman, it's like, okay, this is the 80th time I have to hear and sit through the freaking Batman origin story.
I mean, with the Batman, at least they've started at year 2. So some of the stuff has been tied up. But it causes its own issues, too, where it's like, not only do we not see you at the very beginning, but you're still at your beginning, so you're losing your lessons. But also, who the fuck have you been fighting this whole time?
Right?
Because it feels like you exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's this vigilante. Really, what's he doing? What's he been doing for the last year?
Yeah.
Like, except brooding in his house, listening to Nirvana.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I need Peacemaker.
Yeah. I just want them to, if they want to do a shared universe like Marvel does, they need to start it at almost the same point where the current MCU is, where, you know, Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. already established, maybe mentor characters only, and then branch out, have a Nightwing, and have a...
Well, I know with the Flash movie, which I'm assuming will still come out because they're still advertising it, even if they then have to fire the Flash.
Yeah.
Poor Ezra Miller and his fucked up ways.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to try and...
Flash, shitty person.
They're going to try and introduce their multiverse then and kind of sort of Crisis-ish everything. I think they're even talking about doing a film Crisis at some point.
Well, aren't they doing Flashpoint?
Well, but Flashpoint into an actual Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
And then they'll use as which they're going to use as an opportunity to reboot their continuity. But at the same time, it's really weird that they're calling it Crisis on Infinite Earths that they're talking about for the movies when they literally did Crisis on Infinite Earths by name in the Arrowverse.
Yes.
And the Arrowverse featured cameos from some of the DCEU stuff. So it's like, you're going to Infinite Crisis, your Infinite
That's DC's always...
Oh my god.
DC's always had better overall characters, I think, but crappy storytelling.
Yeah.
Compared to Marvel. Like, Marvel's always had it in the storytelling department with mediocre characters. But for the most part,
pain.
DC has, in my opinion, the better characters, but their stories are always so lackluster. Then they'll build something that's like, reset
everything again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know in comics, they just, like, they did a 5 years later Kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
But all those characters are still alive at the same time because it happens 5 years later and it's supposed to, like, build to it. But you also know DC is going to be like 3 years from now, yeah, we're not building to that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I haven't read a DC comic in years.
I got out when Jeff Johns stopped writing Green Lantern, and then I pretty much stopped buying comics almost altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a subscription to the Marvel app, and I'll read Marvel comics still, but DC, I can't tell you the last time I read a DC comic.
Anyway. All right. This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, lamenting the multiverse all the way out through the DCE universe. I am Mike Finkelstein, still desperately hoping for a Blue Lantern ring.
I want a blue.
You want a Blue Lantern ring?
I'll do violet.
Huh. Ooh, that's a nice one. Is that the love?
Oh,
or you want to go indigo?
One? Indigo. That's
you want to go indigo with compassion?
I'll do compassion. I like the indigo.
What's your name? You didn't give us your name again.
The Rock.
You're not The Rock.
But he's a wrestler just like John Cena is.
And we will see you next time.